Hello, future Cardinals. Thank you so much for joining us today. Welcome to Summer Orientation 2020 Virtual Style. Thanks again for joining us. My name is Rachel Pridgeon, and I'm the Director of Student Involvement and Transition Programs. We've set up these webinars to give our incoming students and their families the tools they need to be successful as they gear up for the fall semester. These webinars will be held live throughout the summer, and the recordings will be available on the orientation website, which is northcentralcollege.edu/orientation. For today's webinar, I'll be speaking to you about commuter student services and programming on campus. Before I begin, if you have any questions along the way, please put those in the question box in the webinar dashboard, and we'll actually answer those questions at the end of the presentation. In addition, should you get any tech issues, know that this webinar will be recorded and will be shared on the website. But without further delay, let's get going. Commuter student programming is an extremely important component of North Central College. Nearly 50% of our incoming students, as well as our current students, are commuters to campus. So it's a big focus for our campus. Commuter Student Services is housed within the Office of Student Involvement. And the focus for the commuters is on three primary things. The first is community building. Second are resources and connection. And finally, commuter advocacy. And we'll walk through each of those pieces along the way. The first one is really what pulls us all together are the ACTS mentors. ACTS stands for Association for Commuters and Transfer Students. And these are peer mentors that are here for you as commuter students. They are upper class students. This is actually a campus job for them. They are current commuter and or transfer students. They are dedicated to creating a community within our commuter and transfer students. And really their goal is to provide some mentorship to connect the current students, commuters, and transfers to all of campus. And they have an Instagram along the way that they keep up, which is @NCCACTS. So these are these amazing folks, these friendly faces on the side that you can see that really highlight and pull together the commuter students, because we really try to drive them to be student focused and student driven. And these folks are our rock stars that help us along the way. For the community building, the ACTS mentors provide some really key things throughout the semester, throughout the year, to help build that community within our commuter students. The first is we have weekly breakfast socials. As you get to know me a little bit as the Director of Student Involvement, and as you get to know our commuter assistants as well as our ACT mentors, we love to feed you. And so we try to provide weekly breakfasts or weekly lunches that bring you all together and give you the fuel you need to start your day out right. They also provide workshops exclusively for commuter students. There are so many, but just a couple that we'll actually go through a little bit more later. But we have resume building, we have parallel parking, all of that great stuff to be able to really give commuters a hands-on and exclusive opportunity to be able to learn and grow themselves. We also have a commuter appreciation week. This is 1 week each semester that we try to bump things up a little bit and really appreciate the commuters. So we do extra socials or extra workshops, just different things that we try to pull folks together from one side of the campus to another, but really provide this ongoing feedback and ongoing community building for our students to be able to engage in more. We also have lots of resources on campus for commuter students. The first are, we have 3 locations throughout campus that have commuter lockers. We have some in our Lawrence Academic Center. We have some in our Wentz Science Center. And then we also have some in our Jefferson Lounge. Commuter lockers can be signed up for at the WAC front desk, which is our Harold and Ava White Activity Center front desk. Anytime the student needs it, they can sign up for a locker and get it for that full semester. Signups will each happen on the first day of the semester and continue until the commuter lockers have been all taken up. They typically don't fill up completely. There's almost always at least a good handful, but if you want to have a primo kind of spot for your lockers, be sure that you sign up for them early. We also have multiple locations throughout campus that have refrigerators and microwaves. They are from the north end of campus of our Larenz Academic Center to our Harold and Ava White Activity Center to our Boiler House Cafe and everywhere in between. We really want to make sure that the commuters feel open and welcome to use any of that space should you want to bring in your own food or your own lunch. For the refrigerators, we just ask that you label your food and make sure that you clean those out. We give all commuters a heads up when we're about to clean the refrigerators, but it gives you a chance to utilize that space as much as you can, and we certainly don't want food to rot and spoil and really smell. The commuter spaces and lounges are really throughout campus. We've been very intentional to develop spaces throughout campus that allow a student to relax, unwind, and just have some space to be able to study in between classes. That is literally from the South Campus to the North Campus, you'll find everywhere. From Upper WAC, which is our Harold and Ava White Activity Center, our Boiler House Cafe, and Went Science Center, just to name a few. We also have dedicated commuter parking lots. I'll go through parking in just a moment, but we have dedicated commuter parking lots that are only for commuters and some that actually share between commuters and faculty members. I'll give some tips as to some things that you'll want to consider for parking, but if you have any specific questions about that, feel free to put it in the question box. We also try to strongly work for the advocacy for commuters. These workshops that I was mentioning earlier are, again, exclusively for commuter students. Often with our resident students, we try to hold the workshops in a different area and also at a different time, usually later in the evening or kind of spattered throughout the day. That's really convenient for resident students, but we try to do equally, if not more, and be very intentional about our times for commuter students. So we like to put them in between class time, in addition to class time, or multiple times so that students can feel free that they can get involved throughout the time as well. We have workshops, like I was mentioning, of resume building and parallel parking. Of course, parallel parking is extremely important when you're going to be parking in the neighborhood. So North Central College does have dedicated commuter parking lots, but they do get full. And so we want to make sure that that's pretty well known. But there's plenty of parking in the neighborhood that's very close to campus, but it might provide a student to need to know how to parallel park their car. So we do provide some training for that, and it actually is led by our campus safety officers, so you can make sure that you are in need for that. We also will teach you how to winterize your car and make sure that your car is all set and exactly what it needs to be for the winter to be able to commute from home. And you also get a little bit of an exclusive look into academic support. Should you need a little bit more, or should you need that resource along the way, we want to make sure that you have that and can have full access to it the same way that any other student would have. And there's really so many more. Our ACTS mentors, which you see a great picture of it here on the screen, really try to think about what's happening in their own lives or also happening with the students around them. And so they try to pull those different pieces together and design a workshop. If they see trends, if they see kind of needs or questions coming through from their current commuter students, they try to address them right away and even try to provide a workshop that accommodates all needs. We also understand how important study groups are, and sometimes it can be difficult to navigate that study group if some of them are residents. And so our ACTS mentors and our commuter students will have hosted study tables throughout the semester. They advertise via email and via their Instagram page and Facebook pages to be able to ensure that everyone knows exactly what's happening along the way. But there are easily hosted, many hosted study tables throughout the semester so that you as a commuter can know where you need to go and also be able to provide some really great feedback should you have some or get some help and be able to just, kind of chat with someone else that also understands what you're going through as well. We also understand that trends and needs are going to happen throughout the time. And so there might be questions that simply, a student or myself could not answer. And so we try to host open town halls with administration for commuters only. There might be issues about parking. There might be issues about times that some things are provided. And so we want to make sure that commuters feel heard and feel seen and feel more than welcome to just open up the conversation with administration, and so they know what's happening. Here are some tips and tricks for commuter students that we just try to provide. Parking is at a premium, but it's very much available on campus. So the two main pieces that I would mention is to give yourself a good amount of time before your class to find a parking spot. Usually the best time is kind of when the classes are changing. And so when people are leaving their spot and you can immediately take it. But if you usually I recommend that commuter students use that first week, if not the first 2 weeks of class, to see how classes are evening out. And you can start getting into a groove about when you'll be able to find parking and how you'll be able to find parking. But of course, we're all, there's always moments that we'll be running late. And so there is lots of neighborhood parking that you'd be able to park into. However, Naperville police are pretty strict about where and when you commute and where you park. So I would recommend that you just pay attention to signs. Most of the signs are for 4-hour parking. So often we'll just set an alarm clock on our phones, and that when that 4 hours is up, you can get up and just move your car. You'll actually hear that quite a bit throughout. So if you hear somebody's kind of alarm going up, 9 out of 10 times, it is usually someone needing to move their car. So it's done, it's very easy, and rarely does anybody have to drive around for too much time to be able to find that key parking that they need to get to class on time. The second thing, our food and resources are always really available. So we have weekly breakfast socials, sometimes even weekly lunch socials. All of that will be advertised through email as well as through our Instagram and Facebook pages. We have our refrigerator and microwave that we've already mentioned for your own food, but then there's also commuter food plans for through Chartwell should you want it. So I've left the link here if you would like to check that out yourself. It is utilized, but it's not widely utilized. So Chartwells does have it as an option, and there's lots of different ways that you can explore that. So you can get certain swipes, and a swipe is considered a meal. So we have 5 different meal options or 5 different places on campus that you can get food, and each one of them has a meal option. Then you also have an option just to put money into on their ID cards or on your ID card, and it's called bonus bucks. And basically there are things that are beyond the meal or maybe some additional thing or additional snack that you might want that you could just use bonus bucks for. Our Boiler House Cafe is we proudly serve Starbucks. And so you can also utilize your bonus bucks for Starbucks as well. Then finally, one of the pieces that I really highlight for commuter students is to get involved. It's extremely easy just to go home after class, but there's so many opportunities to get involved and find your community on campus that we try to encourage that as much as possible for our commuters. And the way we house everything is through our North Central College presence page, which I will actually go to. Just trying to share my screen so that you can see the full page. There we go. So now you should be able to see my screen, which is the Get Involved in North Central. So this is our presence page. So if you go to noctrl.com commuter.presence.io, you can get a full glimpse into everything that really has getting a student involved on campus. So this first page is just kind of a dashboard, and it highlights some of our student organizations, highlights a little bit of what's happening now, which is our Twitter pages, which currently isn't really populating, and then connecting with us as well. But you can start to explore. The two key ways that I'll encourage that you explore is the first way is through the events. What's happening on campus? And so I would recommend you can explore just kind of what's coming up, but then also you can utilize some of these buttons on the side here to get a different view into what's happening. You can isolate or filter via a certain organization. And so if you're a part of an organization or just want to learn a little bit more about what a certain organization is doing, you can filter via that. Or one of my favorites is that you can actually filter via a tag. And some of the favorite things that people really will adhere to are our commuter type programs. So if that tag is being utilized, then it'll filter out what's strictly for commuters. If it doesn't have that tag there, it means that they are always welcome. But if they're looking for a specific event that is just for the commuter students, we use that tag in order to highlight kind of what the students can do. I also love this site, this webpage, to be able to show kind of a full map of what's happening on campus throughout the month as well. So it's a month view, so you can start planning ahead. I know how important it is to be able to plan ahead for our commuter students. And so we really try to be very intentional about putting all of those events here as well. So you'll be able to see and navigate via your desktop of just what events are happening. And if you wanted to learn a little bit more about what's happening, for instance, we have a Dyson Wellness Center event coming up, and these are actually weekly throughout the summer, but you can learn more about it this way. And so you just link down and you can learn exactly how to log in, and you can put that on your calendar yourself. The contact information is also great because if you had a certain question and you click on contact, it'll go to the organizer email directly. So it's a great way, if you have any questions, just to be able to click on it right away and to be able to get your answers completely on board that way. So that brings us to the conclusion of our webinar on commuters. We tried to keep this short and sweet for you, but we really just can't wait to meet you. But if you have any questions, I am happy to field them.